There's no other sword that's seen as much battle as this sword has seen.
I prefer not to for safety reasons. I'm pretty safe. Oh, yeah!
Welcome back to the channel. Most days at the gold and silver pawn shop revolve around coins, jewelry, and antiques. But sometimes an item arrives with a far heavier story weapons once used in real wars. From rare military firearms to centuries-old swords worth thousands of dollars, these pieces instantly raise the stakes. One small detail can mean priceless history or a costly mistake. Today we're revisiting the war weapons that stunned Rick and triggered some of Pawn Star's most intense appraisals. Let's jump into the first shocking deal, a price so unbelievable you probably wouldn't guess it. One day, a gun dealer Rick knows in Utah called him and said he had something pretty special. Not a rifle, not a pistol, but something very big, very loud, and definitely worth driving hundreds of miles to see in person.
What are you hiding underneath this thing?
Well, let's take a look.
Oh my God.
It's the Hotchkiss 37mm Revolving Cannon.
The moment the cover came off, Rick could hardly believe what he was looking at. This wasn't just another firearm, it was a multi-barrel revolving cannon from the 19th century, the kind of weapon that once appeared in some of the most important conflicts in American history. Its sheer size alone was enough to make anyone stop for a moment and stare.
This gun was in the back room because it's so big I didn't have room for it to put it out in the store's display area. It's a Hotchkiss Revolving Cannon. It's just so strong and powerful looking. This come out after the Civil War, 1876. They made quite a few of them, maybe even 250 of them to the American government. It probably got its most fame in the Spanish-American War.
Sean, Pawn Star's weapons expert, quickly explains why this cannon is so fascinating. Developed around 1876, the Hotchkiss Revolving Cannon used a principle similar to the Gatling gun, multiple barrels rotating around a central axis and fired using a hand crank. But the difference lies in the scale. Instead of firing small bullets like a machine gun, this weapon launches actual cannon shells.
We have ammo for it.
Oh, man.
That shoots a 1-pound projectile and it shoots 2,500 yards, a mile and a half.
Talk about reach out and touch somebody.
So one crank, one round.
One crank, one round.
For Rick, this isn't just another antique. It's a piece of military history, a machine that helped reshape the way wars were fought in the late 19th century. And then comes the most important question.
So how much were you looking to get out of it?
Everything's for sale for the right price.
Okay, and what is that price?
Well, this would have to be $75,000.
$75,000. That's not a small number, even for Rick Harrison. And before deciding whether to spend that kind of money on a historic cannon, Rick wants to do something you don't get to do very often. He wants to fire it.
So you're gonna let us take it out and test it out?
If you're serious buyers, we'll take it out and shoot it.
A few hours later, Rick and Sean are standing at a wide-open shooting range in Utah with the Hotchkiss Cannon loaded and ready, and the targets downrange are more than just a few water barrels.
Looks like hellfire and damnation right here.
Okay, Rick, it's during the Spanish-American War. Spanish ship is coming close, about 75 yards downrange. You got 5 shots.
When the final shot hits its target, the explosion echoes across the field, powerful enough to make everyone burst out laughing in excitement. For Rick, it's the perfect moment to imagine what it must have felt like more than a century ago when ships faced weapons like this in battle. Now, after seeing what the cannon can do, Rick returns to the familiar Pawn Star's question: what price actually makes sense?
I'll give you 40 grand for it.
$75,000 is a bargain on this.
Will you take 45 grand for it? Cash right now.
That's a serious offer. I think I got to hold off though.
$45,000 in cash on the spot, an offer many sellers would seriously consider. But with rare historical pieces like the Hotchkiss Cannon, sometimes owners are willing to wait for the exact price they believe it deserves, which means that after a long drive from Las Vegas to Utah, Rick Harrison ultimately leaves without making a deal.
I can't believe I drove all the way from Vegas to Utah and this guy won't budge on his price.
It was really awesome to shoot it, but I was really disappointed having to walk away empty-handed.
Sometimes on Pawn Stars, simply seeing a historic artifact in person is already a reward. But for Rick Harrison, the real thrill is knowing that if the price were just a little lower, he might be able to bring a piece of history back to his shop. This time, the 1876 Hotchkiss 37mm cannon came incredibly close, but not close enough to become a deal. After the episode aired, the comment section almost turned into a fan club for the seller. Many viewers seemed genuinely amused to see one of the rare moments when Rick met someone who absolutely refused to sell cheap a historic piece like this. What about you if you were? Rick, would you have paid closer to the $75,000 asking price to take this cannon home, or would you have walked away like he did? And now, let's move on to the next deal. On that day, the seller brought in something you would almost never expect to see inside a pawn shop, an 1890s Hotchkiss Cannon. And according to him, this wasn't just an ordinary collectible. It was believed to have been used during the Indian Wars in the United States.
It's an 1890s Hotchkiss Cannon. They say it was used in the Indian Wars. It just sits in my front room. I have it facing the front door for anybody who wants to come in.
The man explains that the cannon has been with him for many years. He bought it at an auction about a decade ago and has kept it in his living room ever since, displayed like a centerpiece that immediately catches the attention of anyone who walks through the door. To him, this cannon is far more than a decorative piece. It represents a lifelong fascination with field artillery.
My passion has always been towards field artillery. In my opinion, being a cannon collector, the bigger the better.
But no matter how much he loves it, the time has come to let it go. And Rick knows that if this really is an original Hotchkiss 37mm cannon, it could be an extraordinary piece. Weapons like this marked a major step forward in late 19th century military technology. They were among the first artillery systems to use modern self-contained cartridges, allowing crews to load and fire much faster than traditional cannons. Rick begins examining the basic markings and details.
1890, as indicated here.
Okay. Did they make any reproductions of these things?
No, ATF won't allow it.
That answer immediately gets Rick's attention. If modern reproductions aren't legally produced, then there's a good chance the cannon sitting in front of him is a genuine artifact more than a century old. To be certain, Rick calls in an expert. After a quick inspection, the specialist notices several telling signs.
Okay.
This is the first modern self-contained cartridge firing gun in American inventory. Because the patina and little rust here and there, that's all indications that this is the real deal.
For collectors, those small details matter. Natural patina and light corrosion are often exactly what experts hope to see. They show that the object has truly aged through time rather than being artificially made to look old. Then Rick asks the question that really matters.
So how much does something like this go for? I mean, what can I pay for it and still make a few bucks?
A good shootable gun like this, I would say $40,000 all day long.
$40,000. That number gives Rick pause. In the pawn business, buying below market value is essential to making a profit. But before talking about a final price, there's one critical factor Rick wants to confirm first. Does the cannon still fire?
Oh, wow. That's good for me. I expected about 30.
Well, yeah, but we haven't seen if it fires yet, and I'd like to go take it out and fire it.
If the cannon still works, its value isn't just historical, it becomes a functioning piece of artillery history. So Rick decides to take it outside for a test.
I want to make sure you have a clean bore for maximum accuracy here. That way you get a consistent shot pattern. So do you mind if I shoot it? No, I prefer not to for safety reasons. I'm pretty safe. Oh, sorry.
At that moment, everyone understands the test will determine everything. If this 130-year-old cannon fires successfully, Rick is nearly ready to move forward with a $30,000 deal. Rick loads the round. Everyone steps back, and suddenly only one question remains.
All right, this is the moment of truth. If it fires, it's 30 grand.
That's neat.
A thunderous blast echoes across the range, and in an instant the round slams straight into the distant target. The cannon doesn't just fire, it fires smoothly and reliably. Rick immediately breaks into a grin.
That's 30,000. Now it's going to go up every time he shoots it.
For Rick Harrison, this isn't just another antique weapon from the 19th century. It's a working piece of military history, something you would usually expect to see only in a museum. After witnessing a century-old Hotchkiss cannon fire with his own eyes, Rick knows that if the deal goes through, he won't simply be buying a collectible, he'll be bringing a real cannon into his shop. After the episode aired, the deal quickly sparked lively discussion among viewers, many amused by the moment when the seller realized his cannon might be worth more than he originally thought. And what about you? If you had the chance to own a historic cannon like this, would you make the deal? At the Gold and Silver Pawn Shop, Rick Harrison has seen just about everything from ancient Roman coins to rifles from World War II. But every once in a while, something walks through the door that makes everyone in the shop pause for a moment just to take a closer look. And on this particular day, a man walked into the store carrying something that looked like it had come straight out of the 19th century, a Civil War cavalry sword.
Hey, how can I help you?
Good afternoon.
A cavalry sword.
Civil War officer sword, model 1860. Belonged to Colonel Bassett.
The sword William placed on the counter was far from perfect. The blade had a broken section the metal had dulled over time, and the marks of age were visible across nearly every surface. But according to him, this wasn't just an ordinary antique. He believed the sword had followed a Union officer throughout the American Civil War.
I'm selling a model 1860 officer's Civil War sword. I found the sword up around Yosemite. The sword is in beat-up condition considering it went through 22 battles. I'm selling the sword because my wife wanted a new kitchen and my wife should get what she wants.
That might be a fairly familiar reason for selling something on Pawn Stars, but what caught Rick's attention wasn't the kitchen renovation, it was the name connected to the sword. Colonel Bassett. If the story was accurate, the sword could have belonged to an officer who fought through dozens of engagements during one of the most brutal conflicts in American history.
What's his name again?
Bassett.
Okay. Do you know much about this?
Colonel Bassett came into the Civil War as a captain into the 17th Regiment. One of the most highly decorated officers because he went in as captain, came out as a brave general.
If what William was saying was true, this wasn't just another Civil War relic. It could represent an entire military journey from a young captain entering the war to an officer present when the conflict finally came to an end. But in Pawn Stars, a story alone isn't enough. Rick needed to know one thing above all else: the price.
What do you want to do with this?
I'm going to sell it.
And how much do you want for it?
20 grand.
20 grand.
$20,000. For Rick, that's not a number you agree to based purely on a story. Before making any kind of offer, he needed to know whether the sword was truly as significant as it sounded, and the only way to find out was to bring in an expert.
You mind if I have someone look at this?
No, I would actually welcome it.
Not long after museum curator and historian Mark Hall Patton arrived to examine the sword, and almost immediately he began explaining something interesting about Civil War history.
You know, one of the things about the Civil War is there are so many men involved that a lot of officers sort of drop off the radar. You know, you hear about the real big name ones and you hear the ones that got some kind of really cool name, Stonewall Jackson or something like that.
In other words, just because the name isn't famous doesn't mean the person didn't exist in the historical record. But the detail that truly caught Mark's attention was the engraving on the sword.
It's got his name engraved on it.
It would have been extremely unusual for Bassett to have this done. You didn't engrave your own sword.
Correct.
People would give them to you.
That suggested the sword might not have been a battlefield weapon at all. Instead, it could be what collectors call a presentation sword, a ceremonial sword given to an officer to honor his service during the war. And if that was the case, its historical significance could be considerable.
Everything fits, everything's right, and this is an absolutely original Civil War presentation sword. And you don't normally find those.
For a moment, it seemed William might actually have brought a rare piece of Civil War history into the shop. But there was still one major issue: the condition of the sword.
I mean, he's saying that this was broken off in battle, and I don't think there's any way to prove that.
No. Because if this was done from something hitting it, you would see some sign of bending. It looks to me like it's just a snap.
In other words, the broken blade almost certainly didn't come from a dramatic battlefield moment. And in the world of collecting, condition can matter just as much as the story behind an item. Now, Rick had enough information to make his offer.
I'll tell you right now, if this thing was in beautiful condition, I'd offer you $10,000 for it, because you have a Civil War general sword. But it's just, the break in it just detracts so much. In this shape, I'll offer you $2,500.
$2,500, a number far below the $20,000 William had hoped for. And at that point, the decision was entirely up to the seller.
I'll have to decline that.
Okay. I mean, what's your best price?
Yeah, we're too far apart.
And just like that, the deal was over. No handshake, no sale, but William did leave the shop with something valuable: confirmation that the sword he owned was in fact a genuine Civil War presentation sword.
The expert brought up 2 or 3 facts that I was totally unaware of. I think I'm gonna continue coming up with some more research, and then I'll probably put it back up for sale.
In Pawn Stars, not every visit ends with money changing hands. Sometimes the most interesting part is the history that gets uncovered along the way. After the episode aired, the Model 1860 Civil War cavalry sword quickly became a topic of discussion among Pawn Stars viewers. Many felt the seller's expectation of $20,000 was optimistic, especially considering the broken blade and overall condition. From a business perspective, Rick's offer of $2,500 didn't seem entirely unreasonable. But what do you think? If you were in Rick's position, would you have paid more for this sword? And that wraps up today's incredible Pawn Stars deals. From a massive Hotchkiss cannon to a working 19th century artillery piece and a Civil War officer's sword, each item shows how history, condition, and price can completely change a deal. Which item surprised you the most, and would you have made the deal? If you enjoyed this video, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications for more amazing Pawn Stars stories. And don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments below.